Hi everyone! So this is going to be a continuation of my cancer story. So this will be part 2 of my story. So today that I'm filming, it's Friday, April 13th. If anybody who's superstitious, I suppose you stayed home today. I did, but it wasn't out of superstition. So last time, in my last video, I just watched the end of it. I said that the next video was going to be about talking to the surgeon that I was assigned to. So first I'll get into just an appointment that I had before, and then speaking with the surgeon after, and a little bit to do with family. So I left off, I had told my husband, my mom, and my dad all that I have cancer, and it's breast cancer. It was still really unexpected for them, but they had known, my dad didn't, but my husband and my mom had known that I went for a biopsy. So they were also waiting on the results with me, so it wasn't just like a sheer, oh, Paige is fine and then she has cancer. Like, they knew that I was getting tested and things were getting looked at. So my mom afterwards had said, you know, if there's any appointments that your husband can't go to, you shouldn't be going alone, just in case you don't remember what the doctor had said and things like that, because of how you're feeling, and you should have somebody there with you to also ask questions and to be there to support you. So I still had that doctor's appointment for the Tuesday, even though she had, where I was supposed to get my biopsy results, but she had given me the results over the phone on Thursday. So Tuesday my husband couldn't go. He had to go to school. He needed to do a test, so he couldn't get out of that. So Tuesday had a appointment with just my regular doctor, and my mom said that she would come with me to that one. And it turns out that, what was it? Yeah, Friday? Yeah, so my doctor had told me Thursday that I had cancer, and then the next day the breast clinic here in town that has the surgeon that I'm assigned to, they called me with an appointment. It was for the following Wednesday. So Thursday I got the diagnosis, Friday I was called by the surgeon, the Tuesday after I have an appointment with my doctor, and then the Wednesday I talked to the surgeon. So the Tuesday my mom came with me, and we talked to my doctor, and she basically just reiterated everything that was all over the phone. My doctor was being a little strange. I hadn't seen her since the diagnosis, and like I said, I've had her my entire life, and I am only 27 years old, so I think that she was just a little shocked. She seemed a little freaked out herself, which didn't exactly help the matter with me, but I just was like, you know, it'll be fine. And I think too, because my mom was there, and she's known my mom for a very long time, and you know, she knows our family. So for me and my mom to be sitting there, and instead of her talking about my mom having cancer, which would be more typical, and I hope that never happens, but you know what I mean, my mom's in her 50s and I'm in my 20s, so when you're sitting in a doctor's office talking about somebody having cancer, usually it would be me there to support my mom, like in a typical situation, right? Just because I'm so young. Oh, this is coming off wrong. I really hope my mom doesn't get sick. But yeah, my doctor was acting a little freaked out. Sometimes my hair just wants to attack me, I swear. It's so annoying. Well, I should still love it, right? You never know. You gotta appreciate what you have. But she just reiterated everything, and then also she asked me if I had talked to my gynecologist yet, because during the physical I did not get a pap test done, because I have a gynecologist that usually does that, because I've had pap tests that have come back abnormal quite a few times, not just one, we're talking 5 or 6 times at least. So, and she's in town about an hour away from here, and I had told her at the physical that I would just get my pap test done by her, because she just knows what's going on with me in that regard. But I never did it. With everything going on, I just never bothered to call and get that ball rolling. So my doctor said, well, we should probably do your pap test. So we did that, and then on our way. So then the next day, Sorry, I got a bit of a cold and it's still affecting my lungs quite a bit. So then the next day was the appointment with the surgeon. So I'll just call her Dr. H because it's just easier. She is a really cool person actually. But I went to the breast clinic and it's at our hospital, registered and everything like that. I went with my husband and my mom. And I told my mom, me and my husband will just be in the office if that's okay, just so we can have some privacy and talk as a couple to the surgeon. And because my mom insisted on coming. And my mom said, okay, yeah, I'll come with you guys and I'll sit in the office, and that way if it's too much for your husband to handle, I can come in and he can take a break. Or, you know, afterwards, like, she'll drive us to the appointment and back just because we might not be able to handle that. And she would make us dinner and make sure that we're taken care of for the night and stuff, because it's kind of a stressful thing, right? You get all worked up and then you forget to take care of yourself. So she said that she would be there to make sure that we're taken care of, which was incredibly nice of her. And so at the appointment, me and my husband go in to talk to her, and I had a slew of questions. I had a notebook with 3 pages of questions in it, and because I wrote the questions down the way my memory works, I kind of just already had them in my head, but I still bring it just in case. And my husband also had a couple other questions, and she answered all of them quite well. So I asked her, I said, first things first, do I have cancer? And she said, well, yes, you do. And I said, well, what stage is it? And she said, that's the thing. We don't know, because if it's stage 0, so if it means if it's still in the duct, because right now she says that she thinks it's just ductal carcinoma in situ. So that just means that it's like in the breast duct. So you have like your breast duct in each little duct, and I have 1.7 centimeter mass of ducts. So it's not just one big tumor, it's my ducts that have tumors in them. So it's a whole bunch of like microscopic, but they can't tell how many because the type of cancer, doing this a lot, because the type of cancer that I do have, they can't see it, apparently. I don't know, I'm not a doctor. They can't see it anyway. They can only see what it leaves behind. So in the ducts where the cancer grew so much and it was growing so fast that it actually started dying, it would leave little microcalcifications, and that's what they've seen in the mammogram. And you can't see that in an ultrasound, so it's good that I got a mammogram and not an ultrasound. Okay, ladies, keep note of that. If your doctor wants an ultrasound versus mammogram, insist on a mammogram, because they can't see everything with an ultrasound. And then if they need to do the ultrasound after, let them. But they can't see an ultrasound, they can't see it in MRI, they can't detect it anyway besides in a mammogram if they see the little microcalcifications. So if they can see the little dead cancer cells that have died because the cancer has been growing so rapidly that the cells died, and it basically leaves behind a little trace. So that's a hint of cancer, and that's why they had done the biopsy. So they can't see it. They don't know until they go in, and then they might actually be able to see what's going on, but it's a very complicated kind of cancer. It's microscopic, right? All cancers are, and it's a hard thing for them to detect, I guess, until they're actually in there and they get a better look at it, and they removed the entire area that they believe is cancerous and make sure that it is only in that area. So they'll remove that area, so the 1.7 centimeter mass, and they'll remove that plus a little bit extra on the outside of that duct, because it's not just a tumor. I don't know if I'm describing this right. You probably know what I'm talking about. So I said, okay, so we know it's cancer, but we don't know where, like, what type, like, what stage or anything like that. And she said, no, right now we're calling it stage 0 in situ until we can go in and see. And that was why I was asking her that question, because I wanted to know how they could tell if it had spread or not, and if they could do a test on that before cutting me open or doing anything, because I wanted to make sure that there was not cancer there. Cancer hadn't spread to my lymph nodes, because most likely, usually where breast cancer goes first is to your lymph nodes in the armpit, and then it can spread through that way, usually lungs, bone, heart, and then throughout. So I wanted to make sure that they could, or find out if they could do a test to make sure that it hadn't spread to my lymph nodes or anywhere else before we go and we're talking about like mastectomies or anything like that. But she said that the only test that they can do to see that is to go in and do a partial mastectomy or a full mastectomy, remove the lump, have it, get a pathology report on it, and exactly see what's going on. And from there they'll do the lymph nodes, and we would keep moving if need be. So I was like, okay, so that eliminates my option for trying to avoid this more. Just, you know, I would rather have not had a partial mastectomy or a mastectomy and gotten all the tests done first and made sure that it wasn't elsewhere, because the last thing I want to do is have a mastectomy and then find out that I have uterine cancer or something like that. But unfortunately, the costs of everything and the way our healthcare system is if I have no symptoms of those things and they don't see that the cancer is metastasized there, then they wouldn't do those tests, which kind of sucks, because that's kind of why my doctor had done the pap test to begin with, because if there was another thing that I got in with Dr. H, and that was the fact that I had breast cancer at 27, and because she laid out my options, which I'll show you in a moment, but she said that it's possible that I could have the BRCA gene, the BRCA1 or the BRCA2 gene, and the HER2 gene. And she wants me to go for gene testing. And if you do have the BRCA gene, the chances of getting ovarian cancer are very high. And the thing is I already have issues with my ovaries. I know, I'm just a slew of issues. It's okay, it's fine. I have a PCOS, so that's polyovarian cystic syndrome or something like that. It basically just means that my ovaries have cysts. Basically, that when the egg goes to leave my ovary, instead of the egg leaving it doesn't, and then it turns into a cyst. And so I've had issues with that my whole life. It's why I've been on birth control for so long. I'm not on a birth control for pregnancy control. That's a benefit of it, in my opinion, but actually I'm on it due to the PCOS and due to hemorrhagia, which let's not get into that. So there was that, and she said, you know, it's probably most likely genetic, and also even if it wasn't genetic, because of my age, there's a very, very high risk that if they just did a partial mastectomy, that the cancer would come back, and that the cancer could come back in my other breast. Because, you know, I'm only 27, so if I live to be 100, I'm basically only a quarter of a way through my life. So a quarter of a way through my life, what are the odds that I'll get it again? Actually, the odds are probably about 72%. Which is a little scary, right? In the first 5 years, women my age, women under 30 who have breast cancer, 72% of them contract breast cancer again if they only had a lumpectomy or a partial mastectomy, even with radiation. So, anyway, her options, and I have the sheet here, so we talked about it at the appointment. So the first option is a partial mastectomy plus radiation. So, and then I would go 4 to 6 weeks, Monday through Friday, an hour away, because that's where they do treatment. Good old Canada. So for 4 to 6 weeks, Monday through Friday, I would go to get my radiation treatment, which would only be about a 15-minute appointment, but it would probably turn into a 3-hour thing every single day. So what they would do with the partial mastectomy or lumpectomy is they would actually, I would go to mammogram, they would do a mammogram on me, pinpoint the mass or the area, they would put little metal wires through, and then from there, and I would be awake during all this, so the needles would be about this long, they'd be sticking out, and they would have like a hook in them. They would put those in, and then I would go up to surgery, then they would put me out, and then they would remove the area. And the reason for that is because actually Dr. H said that she probably wouldn't be able to see it, just because it's in the ducts. She wouldn't be able to see exactly where she needs to remove, so she would need those hooks to tell her what area to take. So that's the kind of cancer I have, right? It's very hard to see. You can't even physically see it. It's a sneaky bugger. So there's that one. To me, that one sounds like a very hard time. It sounds like a very hard time for 2 months. You know, back and forth, 3-hour trip every single day, getting radiation. We discussed the side effects of radiation and what to expect during that, which is basically radiation would burn the skin. So they would have to irradiate this whole area because it's my right breast. So they would do a partial mastectomy, so my right breast would be a little deformed, but probably nothing too bad. It's not like I'm in an A cup or anything where you would really see that much of a difference. But they would need to tattoo my chest, so they would need to tattoo little dots as markers on my body for the radiation treatment, and then also to show that I had received radiation there before. And also another thing is this entire area of my body, if I ever needed radiation again, let's say I had lung cancer in my right lung or something else had gone on, I would never be able to receive radiation in this entire area again, because you're only allowed to receive at one time. If you receive radiation too much, it can actually cause cancer, which you don't want. It can burn the skin, it can cause discoloration, it can make your skin thicker, it can do a bunch of things like that. But actually, like me sitting here with this shirt on, you would be able to tell that I received radiation treatment because I would probably have a little tattoo right here. I don't really like that idea. I don't like the idea of driving back and forth an hour away for a 15-minute treatment every day. I don't really like the idea of receiving radiation. So to me, that one was kind of a easy way out, right? They can just remove the lump, we can look at it, see if it's spread, and go from there. But once again, I could have the gene. So the second option is a mastectomy plus radiation. So typically they don't do a mastectomy plus radiation, but once again, because of my age, they would just want to be extra safe. They would do a mastectomy, radiate the whole area, and then say, okay, hopefully nothing else happens. And with that one, I would have a drain. So one of those gross drains with the bag that you have to dump out. I don't really like the idea of that. It's probably what's going to happen to me. But I will record my journey and we will see what happens. If you don't want to see that, maybe let me know in the comments now, and then I can know what to edit out of my videos. The third option is a mastectomy with immediate reconstruction, and that one, so basically they would just do a mastectomy, and then while I'm still under, they would have a plastic surgeon come in and have a saline implant put in for me, and that would be put in under my chest muscle, and they would hopefully be able to save the areola and the nipple. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube, just did. They would be able to save that, hopefully, and with that though, I would end up having a little bit of discoloration because they would have to put a dye in so they could see if the cancer had spread to which lymph node it would probably go first, because I guess everybody's body's different, and the supply or something like that, I guess it's blood flow or something, goes to a different lymph node. So they would want to see what lymph node would be the most likely to have cancer in it if it had metastasized, and they can only do that through the nipple, and they can only do that before a mastectomy. So they would do that first, then they would do the mastectomy, the reconstruction, and I would be in the hospital for a couple days, and we would go about it that way. I asked her, I said, if I either get the partial mastectomy or the mastectomy, what happens if we did notice it, if we did know it metastasized? She said, well, then we would do a lumpectomy. And I said, yeah, that's what we would get done. And there's some risks with that, so that's why she didn't want to do that one right away. And if it had spread to my lymph nodes, then we would need to do chemotherapy. And I was like, okay, so we would do chemo after a mastectomy? And she said, yeah. And I'm like, that's because it's full body, so that's basically you're making sure that there's not cancer in my entire body, as opposed to radiation, which is targeted. And she said, yeah, that's right. So it gave me a lot to think about, and there was a lot of other things that I discussed there. Basically just like the feasibility of having children, and sorry, I apologize about that. The feasibility about having children, because I am a newlywed. I got married in June of last year, so I'm not even married a year yet. So this is a lot for a new marriage to handle. And I said, you know, just my mom, his mom, my husband, I'm really not into having kids right now, but I wanted to ask. So I asked her about that, and she said that if I had children right now, I'd be sacrificing my life. So right now, no. She said in a couple years down the road, if you don't have the BRCA gene and we don't need to do a hysterectomy, and we don't need to worry about your ovaries or anything like that, then yeah, maybe. If you do have the gene, like, I could look at freezing my eggs and doing that. But if I have the gene, do I really want to have children that would possibly have the risk of going through the same thing I'm going through right now? So it's a lot to think about. So right now, that's definitely a no. And I asked her, you know, how long is this whole process going to take? And she really can't answer me on that one, but I still asked the question. And then I asked, I said, well, how long do I have to decide? Because I'm not giving you an answer right now. And she said, well, make an appointment with me next week and we'll try to have your answer then, because I don't want you waiting months on this. I think she could tell that I wanted to. She said, you're not waiting months on this. Appointment next week. Let's try to have a decision. You can ask me any other questions in between. Just call my office. So I thought about it for quite a while. I asked a few people what they... Sorry, I have something in my eye. What they thought. And I kind of was like going back and forth with, okay, well, a partial mastectomy would be nice if they could just remove the lump and see what's going on. But then I have to, like, it's a package deal. I can't say no. If I do a partial mastectomy, I have to have radiation. There's no challenging that one. I have to have it. So I would rather the partial mastectomy, see what's going on, and then the radiation or chemo or whatever, but that's not how they do it here. And then a full mastectomy, that's quite crazy, you know, having a full mastectomy at 27. Now, it sounds easiest, just chop it off. I'm not that attached to my breasts, and I don't think my husband really would love me any less because of that, but it's quite a lot to take in. And then I had another option too. She gave me the option double mastectomy with reconstruction. And I think that's the one that I'm going to go with. She only gave, not a lot of people get that option. She told me standard of care with what I have is just a lumpectomy, radiation, and go from there. But she said that standard of care is for people in their 50s or older. She said, because you're 27, once again, she gave me the option, double mastectomy, immediate reconstruction, because I will have to be monitored for the rest of my life, and then this way at least it's not a mammogram every 6 months forever. So that's kind of what I was leaning towards, and so I walked away with quite a bit of information, and it was a lot to take in. If you want me to get in more depth about questions that I had for her and answers, just leave them in the comments down below, and I'll see if I'll answer you back and let you know if I know the answer to that question. yeah, it's a really difficult decision. I'm kind of leaning towards the double mastectomy. I'll let you know in my next video what I decided to do. But anyways, if you are watching this because you're going through the same thing, I'm very, very sorry. And if you have any questions or you just want to reach out and have somebody to talk to that's going through the same journey as you, or just, yeah, you can leave a question in the comments down below. You can also DM me on Instagram. I'll have my Instagram listed down below. But that's it for today. Bye, guys.